It would not be a goodbye to Nima without him making us late to stream. I'm your host, Clayton, and welcome to the Arsenal Bite Size podcast and this special episode where, well, for two reasons. One, it's the Man United review and Fulham preview. But for the second reason, and the most important one, as you may have seen, regular listeners, this is Nima's final show of all of his content that he does, actually. So, for the final time, it's been emotional. Welcome to the show, my co-host FPL Nima. How are you doing?
Yeah, good to see you, Clayton. I'm glad the send-off is with a win against Man United. That fixture holds a special place in my heart. So it would have been a very sad day if I had to say goodbye and we lost to Man United. So I'm very happy that the cards have fallen this way. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, man. It's 3 seasons now we're in. It's been one heck of a journey. I really hoped I could carry on, but for me personally, this is the 5th season that I've been making content about football or fantasy football. It's the 4th year in a row, and a lot has just changed, right? So as I kind of spent the last few months thinking long and hard about how could I maintain it, how could it be sustainable for me, but ultimately I've come to the decision that I have to kind of go completely teetotal from podding and hang up the microphone, I guess. So this is one last time, and I'm excited that we get to do it together.
Yeah, no, 100%. And it's been like from my perspective, just amazing. Obviously, we didn't actually know each other before we started the pod. I think we were in similar group chats, spoke like virtually online, and then obviously romantically met for dinner one evening over a pizza, discussing this idea about an Arsenal channel. And here we are 3 years later. It's been.
I used to think your name was I'm trying to remember. You had the old handle named after an ex-player.
Yeah.
I'm
Let's not
sure.
talk about that.
Oh, okay, yeah. We won't talk about that. But
Yeah.
I remember I had you like when I first met you for that pizza. I wasn't calling you Clayton in my
Yeah,
phone. I was calling you by the random
yeah.
ex-player's name.
I was a weird person 3 years ago. Let's just say
You
that.
were one of those faceless accounts with
I
a
was,
player
yeah.
profile picture.
Yeah, like, but even like without getting too soppy, to be honest. But yeah, you've been a big part of like my own personal growth as well, to be honest. Like the confidence I've gained through doing podding weekly, like the opportunities it's led for me in terms of like external things like Planet FPL and stuff. And setting up this pod has been one of the best things I think I've ever done in my life, honestly. Like just having an excuse to talk in detail about Arsenal every week with someone like yourself who's become a really good mate of mine has just been an absolute pleasure. So yeah, thank you for everything. The couple of guys in the chat who can't join live but kind of echo my sentiments. Uncle Mike, afternoon lads, can't catch it live as getting my head down for night shifts, but just wanted to thank Nima for all his hard work over the years with content. Don't be a stranger. And Tommy Gunn also says, I'm busy too, but wish to thank Nima for all his hard work over the years. A true legend. And I'm sure when I tweeted on Twitter, that is usually what happens when you tweet on Twitter. I saw something from Pontus saying something similar. Let me find that 2 seconds.
It's very
He said,
kind.
Pontus at FPL Chronos, another regular listener, says, we'll try to join despite being at work. So, he's obviously busy at work. If not, it's been great listening to you, Nima. So, yeah, the guys just echo my thoughts. It's been a real blast. We'll get into the games and stuff. But before we do, has there been any particular highlights from your time, like streaming in general and specifically this channel? Anything that stands out?
Yeah, I think there's maybe if I just can what's the word like reflect a bit on these last few years. I think the biggest part was just during the lockdowns, right? When everyone was at home, the world was in a strange place, and having this online community to talk about Arsenal and football and fantasy football, it kind of kept people sane, right? And then once the lockdowns ended and we could kind of go back to the real world and start meeting one another after years of group chats and talking on timelines, I think it brought me closer to the club to find like-minded people who love the team, who maybe have, disagree with me on some of my opinions, but it's healthy conversation. It's not just stupid, meaningless banter or media pundits talking crap, and just speaking to real people who I respect and making friends for life, right? So I think it's not kind of goodbye, I guess, forever. It's like I'll stay online, I'll hopefully be in the community on social, and occasionally like just on the timeline. It's just kind of goodbye to content, I think, is the key message. So I'm not kind of disappearing permanently. I'm not going to stop playing FPL or anything, but I'm just going to take away a lot of the time that I invested which I was looking at it, trying to figure out, how many hours or weeks or pods I've done in total. And that's, I guess,
Don't share it because I think that would make me contemplate my life choices at the minute if I hear the number of.
I don't know the exact number, but I know that, like, for example, Net That Hall, which was the longest one in terms of this, was the 5th season of it, and then it became Locked In FPL. I do think it got to like podcast episode 200 or something. And some of those episodes, you got to remember, these were like 2 to 2.5 hour episodes, some of them.
Yeah.
So I was like, wow, like this has been a huge part of my life. I've grown a lot. And the two final memories I'll say, and we'll go to the matches as you mentioned, is I think just kind of the opportunity to go to Arsenal together, especially, and be invited by the club to watch a Champions League game in our first season back in the Champions League, see a 6-0 thrashing, I think it was.
Yeah,
And
against
just
Lens, right?
that's it, yeah, Lens. And like the first half, I think it was like 4 or 5 goals. And just to be there together, to be on the Breakdown Live, as the live show used to be called, and meet Adrian Clark, an ex-player who was, running the show, and just to meet other kind of Arsenal content creators in the world and be there. And like it just felt surreal. Like I never thought in my life like we would be invited as guests of the club to watch a game in their box and take part in the match day show that is streamed worldwide to every Arsenal fan around the world on the official website. So that, for me, that's the biggest memory on the Arsenal side. And then obviously on the FPL side, I don't know how we did it, but to go up against big players who were like full-time content creators, including Kelly Summers on the official FPL show, and she was out there in Qatar commentating on the England games in the BBC, and to win ahead of those kind of caliber of people and win gold at the Football Content Awards for Best Fantasy Football Podcast, I couldn't. I still don't know. It feels very surreal. I don't know how us, this little minnow, the David of the Goliath, went up against all these big sharks and came out victors ultimately. So yeah, I hang up my boots with a lot of pride and happiness in the journey.
Nice stuff. Yeah, and like you said, it's going out on a high because we get to talk a little bit. I mean, we'll preview the Fulham game, but we get to gloat based on Wednesday night's result. And we'll start with just we're not going to go too statistically heavy on the Man United review, just because obviously we try to keep these Friday episodes a little bit shorter and snappier. But yeah, general feelings from the game against Man United. I guess if I could ask if you could summarize the game for me, how would you summarize it, and how are you feeling after it?
Yeah, so I actually, funnily, was in 2 seats. So I saw the first half from like the east stand, like the kind of the FIFA view.
That's where I sit.
Yeah, the T, but I think I was in the lower tier, like row
Okay.
15. And then my friend messaged me and it somehow came through. And he was like, oh, there's a seat next to us in the upper tier of the North Bank. And there
Where
was
do you
2 of them.
usually sit? Are you
So
not
normally I
lower
sit in
tier
the
North?
lower tier North Bank, yeah. But this time I had issues, so I kind of sat in the East stand for one half, and then half time I went to the North Bank and watched us attacking that way for both set pieces, and I was there singing the "Ole Ole" corner again, and like
Set piece again, ole ole.
"Ole Ole." Yeah, so that was very fun. I felt the first half was a bit pedestrian. Like I didn't see anything of note from either team. I didn't really feel threatened, but equally I didn't think we made much of that ourselves. Second half, though, I did kind of feel that we were almost playing in second gear and just not giving them even a sniff. It kind of almost felt like we weren't even having to pay them respect. I honestly believe like Calafiori and Gabriel would have just played if it was a big enough game, and Arteta disrespected Man United and was like, fuck it, like, who cares that we're going to win anyway? I know that's an outrageous thing to say, but
No,
it's
not
4
at all.
wins in a row, man. And like, I don't think any Arsenal manager has ever beaten United 4 times in a row. So
As in,
I'll
we've
take that.
beaten Man United 4 times in a row.
Yeah, 4 matches in a
Oh,
row.
damn. I didn't know that.
It's never happened before in our history.
Fair play. Yeah, I think similar to you, to be honest. I said I was on the Planet FPL main pod this morning, and I said it was literally like a game of 2 halves to me. Rewinding to the lineups, when I saw Gabriel Calafiori not in the team, my instinct was, just like Zinchenko and Kivior together as a combination on the left going into the game made me nervous. But they dealt with it fine. I don't want to be that guy, but I do feel like people are going a bit OTT on Kivior and how good he was. I'm not quite as high on how great he supposedly was. I think he was fine, but like there was a lot of I don't want to be that guy, so I'll leave it there. But fair play. Like it was good that he was able to come in. Obviously, he got the second half against West Ham to kind of build up some rhythm and stuff. And came into the side. But yeah, going into the game, when I saw that lineup drop, I was like, oh, not sure about that. Like, I definitely didn't think we'd keep a clean sheet, given what I expected Man United to be able to do in transition and on the attack. But that first half, I think I'll give them credit, like, and Amarim as well. Structurally, I do actually think they looked pretty good at stifling us. I don't think, like, while they looked like they weren't going to create anything and they were perhaps, I was going to say playing for a draw. I don't think that's fair. I heard Clive say something where it was like maybe they were just playing to try keep it tight as long as possible and then bring on the likes of Diallo, Rashford, try and make it a transition game, open it up a bit more and try and nick a win on the counter. And so, like, first half, you'd say that game plan was going to plan, right? Like,
It was going exactly how they wanted, right? Because, like I said, I didn't feel we created really anything in that first half either.
nothing. Nah. Yeah, so in the first half, neither team had a shot on target. And I think Onana was pissing me off with his time wasting and stuff, but
From the
it's
25th minute.
literally, but it's part of a strategy, right? Like, I'd be a hypocrite if I said we haven't done that before. So it's one of them where it's normal to acknowledge the emotion you experience while also.
I was surprised that Ahmad didn't start, Rashford didn't start. So I think actually looking back on it, I think what you've just said about kind of Clive's thoughts, so I think that does add up. And my friend who was a Man United fan, he went to the game. He was also quite confused why they didn't start. And then as soon as they were kind of coming on, he was like, oh, this is it. We've been trying to keep it tight. And like now we're going to go for it because our game plan works so far.
Yeah.
But that's the key part. It worked up until a point. But Amarim's just not had enough games in charge and not enough windows to have the personnel he wants to fully go for it.
Exactly.
But it looks good for them though. As a club, as a
Yeah.
manager, like they actually seem to have an identity that I've not seen in a few years from that club.
Yeah, I agree. I think, obviously it's early days and lots can change. But yeah, I was impressed with the structure he put in place, as frustrating as it was. And I think the way they stifled our ability to play through, like everything I said in the preview basically did not come to fruition. Like, we weren't able to create overloads. We weren't able to manipulate 2v1s, 3v2s in wide areas at all. Like, they stifled our ability to play through, especially on that right-hand side, really well. And I think as a result, there were players that I think didn't look themselves in the first half. Thomas Partey in that first half was, oh my God, what the fuck was I watching? Like, that's probably the worst I've ever seen him play. But then again, another thing I heard from Clive, which I didn't really think of myself, was maybe he wasn't fully fit. Obviously, he missed out on West Ham to cite what was actually tweeted. It was muscle injury. And it was him playing himself back into it. And then the second half, I just thought, even though it was two set pieces, I personally felt like there was an intentional shift immediately in how aggressively we were playing with the ball. I do think first half, as much as Man United structurally were impressive at nullifying us, I do think there was an element of us like being cautious as well. Like, just kind of assess things, like work out what's going on, work out where the spaces are. And then second half, even before that first goal from Timber, I thought we came out, like, we looked to play more aggressively. We looked to punch it a bit more. And then, the set pieces, the deliveries were a fucking joke, to the point where it became a meme within the ground, right? You remember everyone's like treating it like it's a penalty once we're 2-0 up. Like, when Saka goes over to it, Rice goes over it to everyone's like in anticipation of, like, oh, as he's about to take it. And the whole, of course, it's taken a game where we weren't at our best offensively in open play in the first half and scored two set pieces to win. And of course, the whole Stoke narratives come out, this and that. And I just think people are fucking idiots, honestly. Like, you only have to look at not even 10 days ago, and we're slapping 5 past West Ham, slapping 5 past Sporting. That first half against Sporting, literally me saying, I think that's the best I've ever seen us play under Arteta. The Nottingham Forest game, playing really well. Like, I've seen in some forums, neutral fans prior to the Man United game saying Arsenal look like they're clicking again. They're one of the best sides. And then bang, it's like, oh, they're just a posh Stoke. It's like, people are
I did see Berbatov say it as well. And then they asked Arteta in his presser today, and he said, oh, I know exactly what he meant. It's a huge compliment.
The funny thing with that Berbatov thing is
hilarious.
It's funny how Berbatov was kind of saying that stuff. I think it was Prime, right? Like, on the panel. But then when Arteta came to stand next to him for the interview, he didn't say shit about it then. It's funny how that works.
They're all like that, isn't it? They also asked him, some other questions, and he said, like, yeah, like I don't really care how we score them, ugly goals, good goals. And then I think the best part for me was, and he really dug the knife into United basically with this comment. They asked him about, like, how come you score with these set pieces and all that, and he basically said, yeah, we identify opponent's weakness. And I was like, okay, like
Yeah,
there is more spotlight on the fact that we score from set pieces than there on the fact that teams can't defend. Like I see
yeah.
the video of Maguire defending that set piece, and it's hilarious. Like you got a player with the
He's
biggest head
literally just
on
like
earth,
this.
and my guy's just standing there, like with his arms up, looking around, like clueless as hell. Yeah, it's almost like they want us to what? Do they want us to deliberately not score from our set pieces? And then the other side of it is, I saw today someone sent a picture of our XG. There was like a table, a chart of XG in open play for every team, and then XG in set pieces for every team. And what it showed was that Arsenal's, like, let's say XG from open play was like 12.5 and United's was 13. But then their set piece XG was like 0 and ours was like 13 again. So ultimately we got double the XG, but they were like, oh, look, we have higher open play XG than Arsenal. Those set pieces are a real weapon for them. And I was like, bro, are you seriously sitting here talking about the fact that on this chart, you're like 0.2 XG higher in open play, yet you're not also looking at the part that shows you have fuck all threat on set pieces?
Yeah, it's
Like,
I can't wrap my head around how the analysis isn't literally Arsenal are a very good team that generates so much territory that they get so many corners that have now turned that into another weapon to add to their, pun not intended, their arsenal. And it's like, how is that not the narrative?
how
Like,
do you get 13 corners against 0? Why don't we debate that? Like, why did United get no corners? What were they doing? Why did they have 6 touches in the box? That's the lowest they've
yeah,
had since 2016, I think. So,
and
like,
it's funny. Like,
what happened there, right?
I think why it doesn't make sense to me is there's that, and you look at a team like Tottenham who are so vulnerable from set pieces, and the general narrative is always, is Ange naive? Is he stubborn? Is he this? And you look at us, and it's like, oh, I've said it before. Arteta respects every aspect of the game. He doesn't have an ego. Like we play when we're on it, we play the best football in the country comfortably. But when a game like Wednesday isn't quite happening, we have got that kind of uglier side to win as well. And it's I don't know. I find it really confusing to be
But
honest.
they
But
say you can't win a title because it's not sustainable to score these set pieces. That's ultimately what I'm reading into it. But then yet we play the non-big six teams and put 4 or 5 past them, right? And then
uh,
you look at the big six. I think they're just upset because when you look at the chart of when we last lost as teams in the big six, some of them are like 600 days, 900 days, 500 days. Like they're just pissed because we don't lose to them anymore. When we
yeah,
used to lose 4-1 to these teams and play beautiful football and be fluid, people like Pep will come out and be like, "Oh, Arsenal were the better team today,
they're
but we
so
fucking
good,
lost 4-1."
so good.
Yeah, and I'm like, "What?" And then now, when we keep it super tight, don't let the opposition have any opportunity, and then just try to win on the fine margin of the set piece, it's a problem.
Yeah, a tweet came up on my timeline today, September 28th, 2020. Arsenal have only 2 wins in their last 40 Premier League away games versus Big Six clubs. I think people like that's the identity people have etched in their heads of what they want Arsenal to be, and they can't comprehend that we're not that. Like we've been through the cycles before being called naive, too soft. We can't do this, and now suddenly we're such an a well-rounded team. Like I just think you're
We
never
have
going to
all
please
kinds of
people.
names, man. So we've been so this season so far, right? We've been Dark Arts FC, we've been Stoke FC, we've been Pulis Arteta, and the latest one I saw was a graphic for the pre-match advertisement, and it said Corner Kings. We've got every fucking name under the sun these days. It's just like I just don't get it. I think it's just pure hatred. People just don't like that they can't come and like just bully us and be physical with us anymore. Like the soft old Arsenal isn't soft anymore. They just don't
No.
like it.
And that's the thing. I think the funny thing is, like, despite the 2 goals coming from set pieces, like, as the game opened up in the second half, it was becoming night and day. Like, we were toying with them as the game went on. And I thought Declan Rice, like, I've been fairly critical on him this season. I thought he grew into it and, like, he got man of the match. I thought he ended the game amazingly well. Partey, I thought actually looked all right when he went to right back, to be fair.
So
Switched
just
Timber
first
over to...
half, you weren't so happy. Yeah, I think so. It's interesting, right? Because you look at Declan Rice, and I kept seeing him popping up like on the right with like Havertz, Saka, Odegaard, Timber before the move for Timber. And I was like, wow, we're really overloading that side. And Rice would just carry. He was carrying as best as I've seen him carry on any day. Like I was like, okay, this is the Declan Rice I like to see. He looked back to his best, as you say.
Yeah, 100%. And I forgot there was someone else I wanted to shout out that I thought played well, but it's escaped. Oh yeah, Timber. Just
Yeah, of
yeah,
course.
when he switched to the left, just completely locked that down as well. So yeah, all in all, it's always a pleasure beating them because yeah, I can't fucking stand Man United, to be honest. But yeah, I think they're on the right path, annoyingly. So yeah, let's enjoy it while we can. Is there anything more you want to touch on from that game before we swerve our attention to the Fulham preview, or as some would say, the
So
Arsenal
I think
beating?
just not. So I don't. So I wouldn't say like about the game specifically, but just one thought I want to add because it is my last show is to ignore what the media are saying and the pundits are saying and the rival pundits who are ex-players who got bullied by our team 20 years ago are saying, and just don't listen to any of them because I have said this all season and I still stand by it. I think I'm more convinced we'll win the title this season than I was last season. I'm still going to stand by it. It's going to be the last bold take I make before I exit. And the reason I say it is look at the interview with Declan Rice after. The
He didn't
players
even
don't
know the
even know the
points gap.
fucking gap. He was like, what is it? Like they're 10 points ahead now? And then the commentator's like, no, it's 7 now. And he's like, okay, we don't give a shit, basically. And then at the same time, look what happened when they asked the Man City guys about it too. They were like,
I've
what?
not seen it. What did they say?
Yeah, so the Man City guys were the same. I think KDB or one of them, they were just like, what? They were like, what do you mean title challenge? Like, they were like, we don't even look at like the table till Feb. They were like, you just need to be there in Feb. No one cares where you are now.
I did see that actually. Now that you said it, I remember watching De Bruyne's interview, and yeah, you've said it word for word. So yeah, it was really interesting to get
So
that
the
insight from the
fans are
pros.
shitting themselves, right? Whereas the actual players in the two teams competing with Liverpool, they are not even looking at that. They are so
Yeah,
shut out to the noise that all they focus on is themselves, their own performance, and every game trying to be
game
better than
guy
they were.
game. Yeah,
And then when
exactly.
we get to closer to the end of the season, then we'll see.
Yeah,
Then we'll see. But I think fans gave up on this title way too quickly when we were 9 points behind.
I
Way
don't
too
think everyone did, but yeah, I do think more people than I thought would have did give up. Like I'm the same as you. Like I'm maybe not as bullish as you are, but I still think we have like a very good chance of winning it. Yeah, 100%. One thing I want to call out actually, but from the game, the atmosphere when we all found out it was full time at St James's Park. Fucking
Mm.
hell! I think it was around the 56th to 59th minute or something, and like we were
It
obviously
was
1-0
still
up
0-0,
already.
or was it 1-0?
No,
Okay, we were
so I
1-0.
think this is what coincided. It was like we'd just gone 1-0 up, and then I think everyone found out. And honestly, like potential bold claim that's the loudest I've heard the Emirates in a good year or two, and we've had some highs in that period. Like I wish my Apple Watch was one of those where it tells you the decibel reading and stuff because it was flipping raucous. And then, like I think the atmosphere has been quite disappointing this season. But that second half
But
had
that
more.
moment,
Yeah, that specific moment, but then there were more sustained waves of chants that actually went round the whole crowd rather than just North Bank or Clock End. And like, yeah, I just thought there were shoots of the atmosphere in that second half, but that in particular, that is, I think, a core memory I'll never forget for some reason. It's just stuck with me. I felt
you
like
are right. Because I
I
remember how I felt when they went 3-2 up in the 84th minute. And I was like, fuck's sake. When, especially because someone had been passing around messages that, oh, it's 3-1 to Newcastle. It's 3-1 to Newcastle. And then next thing I hear is, oh, it's 2-2. I'm like, how did it go from 3-1 to 2-2? You guys need to stop fucking giving updates to the crowd if you got your shit wrong. Yeah, but you're right. That moment when the game ended and we knew it was 3-3 and that there had been an equalizer in the 90-something minute. And then we were one up as well. And it's just like, it's almost like we were, what's the word? Like we were just like a magnet in the North Bank pulling the ball into the net for the second. Like
100%. That's how it felt. That is the best analogy. That is exactly how it felt. And then, yeah, I knew we were going to win that game from there on in. But yeah, that segues nicely into Fulham. So yeah, we go to Craven Cottage on Sunday. Title charge is on. We've narrowed the gap to 7 points now, but as you just discussed, the players are literally not giving a fuck about that sort of stuff. But yeah, Craven Cottage, we obviously lost there last year. Was it New Year's Day? I
I
remember
think
I
we
was on a
lost back to back there, right? We lost both legs.
but hey, both legs. Are
Did we
they in the
lose both
Champions
legs
League?
to them? No, no, but I
uh,
mean, did we lose the home and away to them, or
no,
was
I
that
think we
one
drew
way?
at home, but it felt like a loss because they scored in the last minute from a
Yes,
corner. But yeah,
that was it.
we lost away there last year. And yeah, I don't know. I've got a feeling this might be a tough game. I think they're a good side. So let's go through the usual format. So predicted lineups. So team news wise, I can't confess to have been able to watch Arteta's presser today. Just had quite a busy day. So to timestamp this, it's 10 to 3 p.m. on Friday, the 6th of December. I'm going to try find some news on Calafiori and Gabriel, who both missed out from the starting. Well, they missed out from the squad midweek. Partey came back in for Jorginho. Martinelli came in for Trossard. I can't find any specific quotes from Arteta, but apparently Calafiori and Gabriel weren't spotted in outdoor training today, but there's a strong rumour that they're probably just doing their own indoor thing. I think based on Arteta's quotes midweek, after the game, he was, to paraphrase it, he was basically saying that Gabriel felt something related to his previous injury, which he felt during West Ham, and they didn't want to take any risks, so they took him off. And playing midweek against Man United would have been too much of a risk, but he should be. He has a good chance for this weekend, and I think it was similar on Calafiori. I think they'll both be available. Whether they both start is one I'm not sure on. I have a couple theories that I kind of want to run with through a conversation on this before I make up my mind. Should I just go with it now? Should I start with
Yeah,
it?
yeah, go for it. I
So
think
one
let's
is
go for it.
so I think Gabriel comes back in. The theory is on what we do in fullback areas, and Reece Nelson wouldn't have been able to play anyway, but unfortunately went off with a hamstring injury last night. Looked quite bad, but Adama Traore, I think, will come into the team. And I don't know if it'll be him, Smith Rowe, or Iwobi, or what they'll do. But if Traore's in that team, right wing, potentially against Calafiori, I do worry a little bit about that. And I do wonder if he'll go for Partey right back, Timber left back in this game, and then have Rice at the base of midfield with Marino in there. I thought Rice looked back to his best when he actually moved to the 6 midweek. So that is a theory I'm running with. I haven't quite made up my mind on whether I think he'll go with it. I do think Calafiori will be fit and available for selection. And if he is, there is a chance it's the same 11 as midweek. The same 9 as midweek. And Gabriel comes in for Kiwi or Calafiori back in for Zinchenko. But yeah, I've just got an inkling in me where I could see the Partey right back, Rice, Marino, Odegaard midfield, and Timber left back. But what do you think about that? Obviously, it's largely driven by the potential threat of Adama Traore at right wing.
Yes. Yeah, I like it. I think it is possible. I don't know if I'm being crazy, but just before I give my view on it, what were your thoughts on Zinchenko? Because I thought he did quite well up until he got gassed around 65 minutes in, and then Arteta kind of reacted quite quickly and well 6-7 minutes later to sub him out. And he was on a yellow. But is there a world in which I don't know, like, because my view is I actually am less optimistic than you. I'm kind of concerned that like neither Gabriel or Calafiori will be back. So my theory is that this kind of Kiwi or left centre back will just kind of continue with Zinchenko supporting him
What makes
there.
you less confident?
I just
Is it
kind of
because
like,
how positive he was midweek, and it's like, is he just lying?
yeah, it's like I don't know, like he always hides things. Like I kind of with the presses, I almost don't want to believe what he says at face value. It's almost like when he says they're okay, they're not, and when he says they're not okay, they are.
Yeah.
It's like I almost want to hear the opposite of it. Now that might just be me like thinking he's playing mind games.
No, you're right. There is a history of the opposite being true, to be fair, with certain players.
Now I'd say out of the two, if I was to believe one of them was going to play over the other, I think it's Gabriel, because I think he's going to want that centre back pairing against Fulham away from home, who have been fantastic this season, as you say. So that then kind of leaves the question of, do I therefore believe that Zinchenko plays left back regardless of whether it's Gabriel in for Kivior or not? I have a strange feeling.
I do agree with you. I thought
Zinchenko.
I thought he did all right. Yeah, I basically agree with everything you said. I thought he was doing fine until Diallo came on, and it probably coincided with, yeah, sure. Like, I think it's a battle he'd probably struggle with anyway, but probably was a little bit gassed and then made the change. But
I just
okay,
think we're going to
interesting.
use the squad a lot more. I think you were talking about Clive earlier. Like he's constantly saying he doesn't talk about first 11s or doesn't think about first 11s. I just think with a game every 3 days, we're in a situation where like you can't really risk someone because like even if you put Calafiori in, okay, what if he gets subbed at half time with a recurrence of the injury and then now he misses 2 months? It's like it's almost like we need to use the whole squad. And in the past, the level of drop off, if we went into games before and like our left back and centre back, two of the back four weren't playing, or like in the game before, right, where Jorginho came in against Forest and we were all not expecting it. Trossard came in, like all these players came in and we're like, what? Like no one predicted this. I just think we're going to see a lot more of that type of rotation where
Yeah.
maybe even Partey doesn't play. Maybe Jorginho starts again. Like, I just think he's going to use this squad in a way we've not seen up until this period now.
So here's the funny thing. I agree with what you said, but I've landed on a different outcome to you. So I agree with the rotation, which has made me land on, yeah, I think it is going to be Partey right back. Marino will come in. Timber will go to left back. Calafiori won't be rushed back because of what you're saying in terms of flexing the squad. But I don't think it will be Zinchenko. I do think Gabriel will be there. So I think we then have Monaco midweek, right? And I mean, to be fair, they are above us in the Champions League, but we've got Monaco at home and then Everton at home. So I think you'll look at it as a block of the next, well, yeah, 7 days, and try and, like you say, rotate one or two here and there. So yeah, my predicted 11 is Raya, Partey right back, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Rice, Marino, Odegaard, Saka, Havertz. Oh, Martinelli or Trossard.
That's a tough one.
He hooked Martinelli, didn't he? I think Trossard is going to get the nod tomorrow. I think he's going to go for that kind of ball retention. Yeah, I'm leaning towards Trossard. What about you?
I don't know
What's
if I'm
your
losing my mind, but I'm even considering players like Jesus and Sterling, and like I'm wondering if he's just maybe I'm overthinking it. Maybe those are the home games where he does it, as you say. Maybe it's Monaco, maybe it's Everton, and maybe this away game deserves the respect of like as close to a strongest 11 as possible.
big time? I think, yeah, we'll get onto Fulham in a second, but they're up to 5th or 6th in the table now, I think, after they beat Brighton last night. I think Marco Silva is a fantastic manager. Like, they're so well organized. We spoke already about the fact that they literally got 5 points from us last season. Yeah, just check, they're up to 6th in the table. So yeah, we can't take him lightly, but with that in mind, what
so I'll go with Raya, I'll go with Timber, Saliba, Gabriel, Zinchenko. I'm going to stick to that back line. I'm going to give Gabriel I think he'll play because of the game. I think the midfield, this is where I'm struggling the most, actually. So part of me thinks that we might see the Odegaard, Marino, Rice midfield.
Okay.
And
so that's what I've predicted.
For.
But what makes you think we might see it for this one?
I just think when you hear muscle injury is the reason Partey missed out originally, and going into the colder months, maybe this is a bit of a random tangent, but every single time Partey had a muscle injury, he was gone for months. So even the fact he played against United, I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, like I thought he might be not seen again. So I reckon he saves him. I think he saves him. I think Marino. I also think that Marino he's starting to build that relationship with Odegaard, with Rice. And I do think that Marino is good enough to allow Rice to kind of together perform best. Like I think he brings out some of the better qualities of Rice, and they can almost like exchange who goes up and down. It's like a double pivot, right? Like something about that makes me think that Marino is going to play. I don't know if I'm crazy, but I trust Marino's passes to be intercepted less than Partey's. I think Partey would try to play too vertically and Fulham will come for blood on the counter. So part of me is almost like, yeah, I wouldn't want to see that happen. So I'm going to go with Marino, Odegaard, Rice.
if that's what you think as well, then that makes more sense for Rice at the base rather than a party there, right? So
I want
interesting.
someone who's just more secure and will hold the fort down. And then, like, if Rice wants to carry a bit, Marino can kind of just slot in at the 6 for a few minutes and then go back to his left 8 position. Yeah, like I also think that set piece FC, etc. I have more faith in Marino fucking around in their box than I do Partey. So I saw Partey's header and I was like, oh my god, if that was Gabriel, that was a goal against United. So
Yeah, true.
Marino
He
seems to
did
get
get
his
the
head
assist
on.
though, didn't he?
He
He
did.
headed it off Saliba's booty. So
That is true. I was very upset it wasn't a Saka assist, but I'm praying and manifesting for Saka to break the assist record, hence being upset. But and the front line, I think, yeah, I'm gonna have to go with Saka, Havertz, and I reckon Trossard.
you think Trossard as well? What makes
Yeah,
you think it's Trossard?
I don't want to single out Martinelli, but he had a lot of space on that 1v1 when he got given the ball on the wing against Maguire, and nothing really came of it. He kind of just
Yeah,
like kicked it into Maguire, into Anana's hands, and
that was poor. That
he had a lot of time. And I was like, I also think personally that I like to see Martinelli play the Champions League games. I think those type of fixtures suit him a lot. So with
yeah,
that whole kind
agreed.
of rotation and using the whole squad more, I think he plays on the Wednesday against Monaco, and then like Trossard gets this one, I think.
Yeah. All right. Fair play. Let's take a look at Fulham before we give score predictions. So they made a few changes midweek, actually. So their starting 11 that beat Brighton last night 3-1 was Leno, Castagna, Diop, Bassi, Robinson. I don't know why FOTMob has laid out the team like this because this isn't how they lined up, but I'll just read it as it is on screen. Sander Burge, Harry Wilson, Iwobi, Smith Rowe, Nelson, and Munez came in for Jimenez. Castagna came in for Tete. There was one change as well, but like, yeah, they tweaked things a bit tactically where like Iwobi was playing more of like a right-sided 8, with Harry Wilson out on the right, Nelson on the left, and then Smith Rowe kind of in that left half space with Sander Burge holding. I think Lukic is available again and might come back into the team. Like I said, I think Tete will come back in at right back. I don't know if he'll go with Jimenez or Munez for this. Nelson obviously can't play anyway, regardless of the injury. But so Traore will come back in. But yeah, I think this is a side where I always have a very good idea, I think, tactically on where we can hurt opposition teams and where we can get joy. I'm struggling with this one, you know. Like I think we'll win, but like which kind of gives away my score prediction, but I don't think it'll be comfortable. And I think usually I have an idea of like we'll be able to exploit space here, or we'll be able to do this in this area, or this is where we can exploit them. And yeah, I can't really see it. Like I wouldn't say I look at their team and like sure, individually personnel wise, we're better than them all over, but they're so well structured and organized and have really nice patterns of play when they regain the ball. I struggle to see any real weaknesses, to be honest. So yeah, I that kind of leads on to the score prediction. So I've said it already. I think we'll win. So the score I'm going for is 2-1 Arsenal. But again, I'll be bullshitting you all if I said like I know how, or I think I know how it's going to happen. I would not be surprised to see like a very cagey game, and ironically, we get a set piece that takes us to 1-0, opens the game state out a little bit. I don't know. I'm worried about this game though. I think while I have enough faith in Arsenal's ability to maintain control over a game, even if it looks like we're on the back foot, combined with the ability to power up off the bench, change things, and then really take the game into a 20-minute period where we just completely dominate and then see it through. I just think all of those factors lead to me being confident that we can get the result over the line and win it 2-1. But I think there'll be large periods of this game where we're actually a little bit uncomfortable, to be honest. So I think we'll get a set piece goal. I think we'll edge it 2-1. But yeah, I'm not sure. How do you see it going for your final score prediction on the Arsenal Bite Size podcast?
I'd
So your
love to get
record
a
so
correct
far,
score.
yeah, you've got one correct score out of the 12 games you've predicted. Can you get a second? What are you going with in this game?
I
And
need to
how
get
do you see
another
it going?
correct score, man. I need to get one more correct score on my way out. How do I see this game going? You know me, I love the psychology element and stuff and like the intangibles. I just feel that whenever someone does us wrong, we always come back with like a vendetta and just like shut everyone up. Whether it was like, not getting top
Brentford.
4 at St. James's, Brentford, like every time, whenever something bad happens, I trust the boys to go and fix it the following year. I think they're much hungrier for success than people give them credit for, and they don't care what anyone else says. They only focus on themselves. So my mentality is like, knowing that there's some of the older boys, some of the old Halen kids, some of the crew that some of them have trained with, and there's that kind of pally element to it. I honestly think that we're going to go there and surprise people again, because I think we need revenge for what they did last season, And for me, I'm going to go with my biggest scoreline in a while.
Oof. Okay, go on.
It would be wrong of me not to. I am going to go. I personally think that we're going to win this game 4-1.
Fucking hell. What?
I was going to say 3-0, but I kind of I realized I don't really. I've predicted 3 fucking goals against us. I was like, I need to predict one more.
Who's getting their goal? Is it Iwobi? Is it Smith Rowe? Is it Leno?
So I think their goal, I don't want to say it, but I think it's going to be Smith Rowe, and he won't celebrate.
Oh, he definitely won't celebrate now.
Yeah, so I think it's going to be Smith Rowe. He's going to be like the calm after he celebrates while they're all
I
jumping
wouldn't
on
be
him.
surprised if he's not in the starting 11. He got dropped again, or dropped, rotated, rested, however you want to spin it. But tactically, he was not selected when they played Man City. He was a bit of a passenger from what I saw last night. I've heard he's been a bit of a passenger in a couple of games. I would not be surprised if they go for like an Andreas Pereira work rate wise.
True, because I think Andreas Pereira, the thing is, there was was it like a disagreement with the coach or something's going on there?
He basically did an interview saying, I wish I went to Marseille, essentially. Like, what a fucking helmet. And then he got booed last night. Yeah.
Who does that, man? Yeah, so actually, with hindsight of the fact that he might not start, I'm going to go, who else? See, I don't know if Raul Jimenez or Muniz is going to start, but I would say whichever one of the two of the strikers starts is probably going to be the one that scores. But I don't know which one's going to start.
Yeah, fair play. But yeah, I
goals,
obviously,
by the way, just for our goals,
go on.
let me
Go on.
get these in. So I think we get one more Saka assist and goal, so it help him towards his assist record. So 1 Saka goal. I think 1 Kai Havertz goal. I think off the bench, we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get either an Ethan or Sterling goal off the bench.
Okay,
one of the two of them. And for the last goal, of course, Saka will have assisted one of the defenders, and I'm hoping it's Gabriel.
Lovely stuff. Let's hope you're correct. Let's hope you go out on a high, potentially calling. Oh, actually, you called Man United, didn't you? I'm sure you said. Oh no, was that you or someone else? Oh,
no, I think it was someone else.
Probably. Okay. Yeah, let's hope you go out on a high, and you've called 4-1 against Fulham. So fingers crossed. Yeah, like I said at the start, if you are watching live, this is Nima's final episode. It probably won't be ever, because I'm sure you'll get a bit of FOMO and want to jump on for the title celebrations in May.
Scratch that itch, right?
Yeah. But yeah, for now it's goodbye, not forever. So I'll be back on Monday with Finn to review the game and preview Monaco as well. Finn's actually going to be at Craven Cottage on Sunday, so I think some of you regular listeners will recognize and remember him. Plan going forward, content is going to continue. So the channel sadly doesn't die with Nima, though we do mourn his loss. That sounded so dramatic. But, yeah, so the channel isn't going to stop, so we'll still continue. We've had some great guests before, so in the short term, basically going to continue having the likes of Scott, Uncle Mike, Bobby, Finn, someone who was on last season that some of you may remember. His name's Aaron, also known as FPL Plonker. But for anyone watching, listening, if you have been on podcasts before, if you've never done a podcast before, but you just like and love chatting Arsenal and want to get involved, drop us a message. Yeah, tweet at AFC Bite Size Pod. Yeah, content will continue in the meantime, but I'll kind of have a think about long term where we'll take things. But in the meantime, yeah, content as always, weekly previews, weekly reviews. Subscribe to the channel, support us. We're quite a small channel relative to the Arsenal world. just normal Arsenal fans that enjoy going to matches and chatting shit about our beloved football club. When I say chatting shit, I mean in detail. We're not like some of the others that are well known on social media that get paid to be negative about our beloved football club. So I'll leave it there. But yeah, support goes a long way as always. If you can drop the stream a like, subscribe to the channel, review it on podcast, and share it with your mates. But yeah, just for the final time, just want to say a big thank you to Nima. Wish you all the best. Like Mike said at the start, don't be a stranger. I know you won't. Yeah, and we'll see you back in May, I'm sure, for the title challenge.
Fingers crossed. If I may indulge myself one last time, guys,
Go for it.
because I know Clayton won't beat his own chest, but you have honestly been a pleasure to stream with over the years. So I want to say my own thank you as well to Clayton. And for anyone watching, if you don't subscribe, honestly, follow this man. He is a real talent. His tactical view of football as a whole is not biased. I've always had a lot of belief. I think the reason we did so well together all these years was I always felt I was more of like a kind of stats nerd, I guess, but I always thought that you were the one who was like truly like could see football from a coach's lens, and you would watch the game. And you know, as someone who's played a lot more football than myself, I always believe that your abilities in football and understanding football as more of a player yourself and a coach kind of mindset meant that we would have such great conversations over these years, because you were so different to me in your understanding of the game, whereas I was more obsessed with like spreadsheets and I should touch grass more. So I want to leave with that thought that for anyone who doesn't know Clayton well, honestly, he's been a pleasure to do this with. And I have full faith that the pod is in great hands. And I hope to come back as a guest in the future at some point, as you say. And it's been an amazing few years, man. And I'll definitely stay in touch.
Nice one. Appreciate that. Thanks for the kind words. And yeah, Arsenal, do us a favor, win this fucking league so we can get Nima back on. Cheers, everyone. Thanks, Nima.
Come on, you Gunners.
Up the Arsenal.